Hi everybody, welcome to a new episode of your Frederish podcast. My name's Gary and I'm your host for today. Yes, once again, one more time. Here I am with you guys, and today we're going to talk about something very exciting, something very interesting. Why not to say something very powerful? Yeah, you've already read the title, so yeah, we're talking about fight. We're talking about martial arts. What do you think about it? What is your position about it? Is this something you're into, something you're interested, or something you're not very interested about? Well, I must say it kind of relates to one of the topics we have discussed, we have brought here to this podcast before. That is the taking care of health, exercising, why not to say, of course, mental health? Because before, one of the most interesting things about martial arts is that mind sort of comes before body, in 99.9% of traditions, of fighting traditions, And this is not just like a movie thing, we're gonna talk a little bit about it. But it is real, it is there, it is part of the thing, controlling the mind before extending it to the body, because this is not just a thing that the movies present. This is a reality that mind is connected to body and vice versa, right? So this, as a bottom line, that's it. Go grab your cup of coffee, a soda, whatever it takes for you to relax, and join me in this journey today. This is Monday, this is not Friday, and as far as I can tell, if information around me is not enough, summer is over technically, right? It's still hot as a hellish, but we're no longer in summer. Technically we're in fall. At least here in the South Hemisphere, guys. I'm talking from south of Brazil. Consequently South Hemisphere. So let's just jump into without further ado. Well, as I always do, there's the necessary, important, and hyper-relevant comment that I'm not an expert in the topic. Most of the topics I talk here, I am not a professional. I don't work with that. But most of them, I have some experience with that, and today's topic is a kind of an exception because I don't have much experience with that, unfortunately, okay? It is on my to-do list, that is to go black belt or be like really good at some martial arts. I'm interested in a lot of them, but I have to say that the topic simply fascinates me. Well, I'm a boy, so 99.90% of us, no problem with those that aren't in this 99, nothing wrong with the 0.01% of the boys, but 99.9% of the boys are at least a little bit interested in martial arts. And of course, lots of girls, lots of women, no implications here. But my point here is, like, of course, while growing up, fighting in school was something like even a little bit like those animal shows you see, Animal Planet. I forgot the names right now. Discovery Channel things, like you see the males competing for space, territory, and the attention of the females, And again, if you're a boy, if you're my generation, you're in your early 30s, mid 30s, you will connect to me. My theory is that any man will connect it to me regardless, despite of how old they are. That is the thing of fighting at school. That was there. When I was 7, I was really kind of a bully. But not just a bad bully. If it makes any sense, I would be up to fight every day. And there were other bullies, so fight was those were the ingredients necessary for fight to happen in school. I remember vividly at school, just to share this with you guys. One day I asked permission for the teacher. I was like 8, 9 tops, and I just asked the teacher's permission to leave the class for a minute to go to the bathroom. And that was true, I wasn't lying. I never did it, lied to leave the class. Anyways, And then I went to the bathroom, and then I don't know why, when I finished, I was returning to the classroom. There was a big hall, and no one was outside because all classes were in, you know. And a colleague of mine in school was holding a guy, another boy, you know, like kind of a in the martial arts it's called sleeper's hold, I guess. Yeah, sleeper's hold. In Portuguese we say gravata, at least here in Paraná, right? Kind of pushing his sleeper's hold, catching his sleeper's hold, you know. That is the, let me describe that in case you haven't figured out which movement is this. Is the one you put your forearm pressuring the neck of the victim, you know, and kind of a stopping them to breathe, basically, right? And also at the same time holding this person's body against your own body, you know. That's basically what was going on. And they were there, and for no reason, I just stopped in front of them as if I were to say something like, hey boys, what's going on? Let's stop that, let's be friends. The guy that was being held, that was being, you know, being held there, was a guy that I didn't have much sympathy, as my next movement will reveal, and I simply punched twice on his face, you know, one with which hand, right? I was a kid, I am pretty sure that I didn't hurt him bad, you know, or anything, and I remember vividly, I didn't put much anger in it, because the guy, I didn't like the guy, but he had never done anything to me, you know, like specifically. But I remember kind of punching him twice, you know, on both sides of on both cheeks, on both sides of his face. And then I just ran back to classroom trying to, you know, play the good kid that I had only left the class to go to the bathroom. That was the 3rd grade, by the way. I was in the 3rd grade. I was 9. And then when I'm in the classroom, a few minutes later, the boy whose face I had just punched twice stops in front of the door. Okay, opens the door. The principal is by his side. The principal, if you don't know, guys, is what we call the director of school, right? The diretor, diretora, in English is called principal, okay? The principal was an old lady, by the way, was beside him, and I remember him just pointing his finger, you know, to me, saying, this is the one, you know. He was crying. I immediately started crying because, you know, back in the days, for the younger generations, we were afraid of our parents, you know. I was like certain that my mom would be, you know, called. They would call my mom, and I would be doomed at home, you know, later. But because I was crying, everyone was crying, they just let it go, you know, and I never did anything like that again. Why am I telling this story other than by the fact that it's because of the fact that this is really cool, a really cool story. I laughed till this present day. Hope you laughed too. But for some reason, and I believe that this is one of them, where something sparked inside of me, like, hey, I shouldn't do these things, you know. I totally went to the other side of it, like, you know, never fighting, you know, avoiding confrontation, you know, running from people that would say that they would have my ass kicked at the outside of school, you know. So yeah, you know, like, why did it happen? I till this present moment, I'm, but I am sure that I had a hard time, you know. The story I just shared was when I was 9. So by the age of 11, I was a real scared kid, you know. Like, I would have, you know, like a dread, you know, a tremendous fear of any kind of fighting, street fighting, basically, you know. And I was right about it, you know. Back in the days, I would that was inside me when I was younger, you know, like, why am I running and stuff, you know. But today I just see like it's a God intervention, because I didn't grow up in a very poor environment, you know, like neighborhood and stuff, but you know, we're in Brazil, you know, like in school there were lots of really poor kids, and constantly and unfortunately, consequently, some of these kids really dangerous. You know, people, kids that would go to school carrying knives. You know, and they wouldn't just stab you for no reason. But if you would give them, you know, the little motivation or situation, they would do that. You know, like, and God knows if I would even be here. You know, if I hadn't, for the reason I told you guys the story, you know, the kind of a trauma that the whole situation generated in me, or for any other reason, if I hadn't gone that direction of the sassy kid. I'm sorry, this is not a political correct word, but that's what they call, and that's the best to describe right now what I was. God knows if I would even be here today talking to you guys, you know, sharing this experience. But let's just, that's the biggest introduction ever. I'm about to get in the Guinness book. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so very sorry. But it kind of connects to the whole martial arts thing. I told you that I'm not an expert in this subject. But the truth of the matter is that I almost have zero experience in that, you know. I just don't have zero experience because that's where I even started talking all that story. When I was younger, that was like cartoon movies, you know, Jackie Chan movies. I didn't get the Bruce Lee time, by the way, guys. I still haven't seen most of his flicks, but on my to-do list too. But of course, cartoons, you know, animes, Japanese anime, and friends that were like into karate, into some martial arts, you know. So I was surrounded, you know. One of my best friends is he teaches martial arts. He's a very, very good at it, you know. He's very, very good at it. Yeah, so this is basically my experience. I said it is on my to-do list because, like, okay, let's just get into the essence of martial arts, you know. We don't have to be pessimistic to stop and look around the world we live, you know, to get to the conclusion that this is a dangerous place. It's a pretty dangerous place, in fact, you know. Of course, it doesn't mean you will, every time you put, you know, you step foot out of your house, something bad will happen, but it may happen, you know. Chances are minimal, but sooner than later, something will happen, and it will require you to be physically fit, at least to run from it, you know. Yeah, don't get me wrong here, guys. What does run have to do with martial arts? It has everything to do, you know, with martial arts. Because martial arts is not about like, oh, a competition. Okay, when it's officially a competition, it is a competition. In real life, it is about avoiding confrontation, you know, avoiding a dangerous confrontation. Because no matter how skillful you are, you never know what the other person is carrying, you know, like carrying a knife or a gun or friends around, whatever other possible resources they may use against you or people you love, you know. So it is first of all about avoiding confrontation rather than running to them. So yeah, I said it is on my to-do list because, well, as you guys who are following these episodes I've been releasing here know, I'm a married guy, I have kids, so it is our function as fathers, you know, of course as parents, but mainly as father, to protect our family if necessary, you know. So this is the reason, you know, making a long story short, this is the reason why I'm still gonna do this someday, okay? But I would like to know your opinion. Tell me what are your favorite martial arts, you know. Let's just mention a few of them just for context, to put in context the whole thing. Well, the first ones that come to my head: Kung Fu, Karate, Sumo, Muay Thai, box, of course, Capoeira, yes, of course. Let's just value the things we have at home, basically. What more? Well, I can think of a much more. Krav Maga from Israeli army thing. Jiu-Jitsu, which I'm almost positive it is Brazilian, right? And of course the mixed martial arts, right? That is MMA, okay? And the whole thing, you know. As I said, it is important for you to be able to protect yourself if necessary. If you're lucky enough, chances are you won't ever have to do that, to protect yourself, you know. But if necessary, you're there, you know. So why am I gonna learn something that I probably won't use, okay? It's a kind of a security thing, you know. You pay not to use, but differently from security things, you know, from insurance, right? From insurance companies and programs. Different from them, you will always have benefit from it, you know, from training, from keeping your body fit, you know. So this is why I totally recommend you to do that, to look for your favorite type of martial art and just go for it and just keep doing it. Keep training every day, keep your body fit. Not only you boys, you girls too, of course, all of us, you know. And self-defense is for everyone, you know. And I'm not even in my speech position here, you know, like I'm not a martial arts teacher or an expert or anything like that. I'm just a regular person who doesn't have any rights to tell you to do that, because I haven't done that myself, you know. I train, I keep training, I keep fit, you know. If necessary to defend myself, I'm gonna be better than most people around, right? So I'm okay with this fact, but there is still this blank to be filled, basically, you know. That is, in my case, learning for real, for good, a martial art. One of the most interesting things about martial arts is that, I said that before and now I'm gonna explore it a little more, is that there's always a spiritual slash mindset thing before the training itself. Like, you know, this is why I totally recommend, and I want it for my kids, like you know, just get them training, get them into a martial art course at very young age, you know, because it helps you to get one very important thing that is called discipline, okay, self-control, not only physical self-control but emotional self-control, and of course this will make the whole difference for your kids, for any kid who gets into it, you know. Contrary to what most ignorant people, sorry for being that upfront, but most ignorant people will probably say, is that like this won't make your kid any more aggressive, you know. Much to the contrary, you know, like what makes kids aggressive is like the environment they live in, the lack of opportunities to put out the energy that all kids have, you know. So going to a dojo, to a martial arts school, whatever you call it, and practicing with serious professional help will get your kid to put out, you know, to let it vent that energy, that extra energy, and consequently learn all the philosophy around it. And this doesn't have anything related to religion, right? Although some of the Eastern martial arts, not to say 80% of the martial arts we have today, are kind of connected to Buddhism, but this is not directly connected. You don't have to become Buddhist, because 99.9% of the fighters aren't, you know. At least the ones who aren't, you know, Japanese or Chinese, or born in countries with this entanglement, you know. So yeah, I totally recommend. It is really interesting for kids. Of course, look for serious and professional people, you know, who know what they're doing, you know, who won't just like, hey, we don't have any kid student, any young student, but your kid can be the first. No, run away from these, from these places, from such places, if you get to this point, right? But if there's like a school, you know, expert, they have experience in training kids, you know, go for it. You know, I'm seriously interested in taking my daughter and going with her, and training myself, of course, as I said. Well, okay, let's just move into a different direction here. There are two types of training, right? First one is to be your better version. You know, I don't like much this term because it is kind of vague. But being your better version is like being ready for whatever it shows up. You know, if you have to, for some reason, climb up a wall, or as I said, fight someone, or even better, run from a dangerous situation, you know, you're gonna be at least proficient at that. You know, like it won't be the perfect climbing, it won't be the perfect running, or even the perfect fight, but it will be there. It will cut it, right? The second is that it is if you have any aspiration to becoming a professional, a pro fighter. You know, this is another story. This will take a devotion, not only commitment. You know, to be your best version, it takes commitment. To be a professional athlete, it takes devotion. These things are you know, not so distant, but they're at the same time completely different things. So I don't know what are your intentions, I don't know what you're into and you're listening to this, but basically this is what I have to tell about it. I will come back, you know, hopefully with an update about it somewhere in the future where or when I will have already started practicing, and I'll be here. I'll come back here to share this with you guys. All right. That will be all for today's episode. I really appreciate your company. Thank you so very much for being here with me. I see you in the next episode.